me repeat my thanks to you and also to the AOHR in the UK for this opportunity to speak. And I look particularly forward to hearing accounts from journalists in Palestine and the experiences they are undergoing. Fortunately, I am here in the United Kingdom. I was for many years a journalist at the BBC and did have a fair amount of experience in the West Bank and in Israel, and I'm well familiar with the Israeli authorities' approach to journalism and to anything that is deemed to be critical of that particular regime. And that situation has become even more heightened and indeed very, very lethal for journalists. I believe it's 170 journalists that have now been killed by the Israelis. It's a shocking, shocking number. Nothing like this has ever happened before in any conflict that we've ever witnessed. But then, this conflict is breaking all levels and all limits of horror, really, as the genocide continues. In terms of journalists, I just want to reflect back a little bit and talk about Shireen Abu Akleh, who, of course, was an American Palestinian journalist who was shot and killed by a sniper. It's over 2 years ago now. The Israeli authorities quote, investigated, found that yes, the bullet was actually fired by one of their people, but there was good reason to do so. That if it was an error, it was an unfortunate error. I don't believe it was. I believe it was a targeted assassination, and we've seen that confirmed over and over and over again, not just in the killings of journalists, but in the killings of civilians, and most horrifically, we're seeing the snipers killing children, as young as 8 and 9 with headshot wounds. As I say, the situation is one that is, it almost goes beyond any words that can describe it. In terms of what the Israelis intend to do, are striving to do, is to destroy the record. And they want to destroy the record keepers, who of course are journalists, as well as aid workers, as well as those individuals on the ground who, as civilian journalists, if you will, are recording some of the many, many, many atrocities. One of the things that the Israelis have done systematically is the destruction of archives, of libraries, of printing houses. They are determined to wipe out any record. So it is so important, and I can only applaud the journalists on the ground, the enormous courage they're showing in keeping the record, keeping the account. And we must, one of the things I would like to see us do is to be sure that we have an archive, one that the Israelis can't destroy, one that will be brought before the ICC, one that will be brought before the ICJ, one that will be brought before the court of global opinion. We mustn't forget ever the strength of the Israeli lobby. It's very powerful. It's very effective in many, many ways. We've seen it here in our own situation in the UK. A new government has come in. This government is avowedly continuing to support Netanyahu, as they did in the opposition. Sir Keir Starmer, the new prime minister, determined that his MPs would not even mention the word ceasefire for several months before they even got around to talking about ceasefire. The record of this new government will be shameful, I fear. I think that the situation for journalists will continue to be extremely dangerous and extremely threatening for all of those journalists in place. As I say, I think what we can do from the outside is to continue to record, to protest, to encourage, and to demand. I mean, one of the interesting things that's happened here in the UK is that in several constituencies where the Labour Party thought they should do well, and indeed would have done well, there was a massive pro-Palestinian vote. In fact, one of the most powerful allies of Keir Starmer, one of the architects of the campaign, was defeated in his own seat in a constituency called Leicester South by an independent pro-Palestinian candidate. And Ashworth, who had a 33,000 seat majority in 2019, got less than 14,000 votes. Jeremy Corbyn, who well known for his support for the Palestinian cause, was thrown out of the Labour Party. This was the former leader thrown out of the Labour Party. He ran as an independent, won in a riding just next to me. So there are rays of hope, and there are ways that people can protest in terms of voting, speaking out, demanding, because this is a horrific situation and it needs to end. It needs to end now. I hope that, as I say, journalists in place, and I know they will continue their extraordinarily brave and courageous work, and I applaud them for it. Let me end there because I don't, the platform should be theirs and certainly not mine. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak.